Tekken is the biggest 3D fighting game franchise and one of the biggest fighting game franchises in the world. Tekken is so massive, in fact, that it is the premier fighting game on the little island I call home, aka England. Last year, when I went to Versus Fighting 10, there were so many people that were there just for Tekken that the entire bottom floor of the venue was dedicated just for Tekken 7. And when it was time for Grand Finals, the area that easily fit the entire Guilty Gear Strive crowd was completely packed. And there was still so many people left that they had to open a second viewing area on the ground floor that still ended up filling up. Safe to say that people really like some good-ass Tekken. Me included. I have over 100 hours in Tekken 7, and anytime that Tekken is being played at a tournament, you bet that I'm watching. So if I have 100 hours in Tekken 7 and a great appreciation for the game, then why is the title of the video talking about new players? And why is this my first video on the franchise? Well, that's pretty simple. I'm dog at Tekken. I've tried getting into Tekken 7 on and off for the past 5 years or so, and I've bounced off for several reasons. From things like life getting in the way, having no one to play with, or just realizing that the netcoding UX is utter dog. There's only so many times you can be told to get ready for the next battle before you can legally be classed as insane. And because I didn't play the game that much, it's a lot harder for me to comment on things past a surface level. It's not like I hated Tekken 7, I would have put in 100 hours if I didn't, but I never really got to dig past the surface of the series. In fact, before this video, I haven't even touched the game in over a year. So imagine how surprised I was when I got an email from Bandai Namco asking if I wanted to participate in the closed network test for Tekken 8. It's pretty weird getting an email from a games company asking if you want to play their stuff, but I gladly accepted. One small problem: week 1 was on PlayStation 5, and at the time, I didn't own one. I was pretty bummed that I'd have to miss the beta so early, and I was telling my dad about it, and he decided to be an absolute fucking legend and just give me the money to pay for a PS5. I was supposed to borrow a capture card off of a good friend of mine as well, so that I could, get footage without it looking messed up, but then we messed up and couldn't get it to me in time. So my dad then gave me the money to pay for the capture card. It is now sitting in my PC. I can record at 4K 60 FPS. What the fuck? This entire video and review was made possible thanks to the generous donations from my dad. Everyone type thank you Gecko's dad in the comments right now because I can't thank him enough for this. I love you, Dad. That was insane. Anyway, with my new access to the beta and the ability to capture my footage in a way that doesn't make it look like a 2007 RuneScape tutorial, it was time to actually test the game out and see how good it is. So, let's talk about Tekken 8. Tekken 8 is obviously the 11th mainline Tekken game in the franchise, 10th if you don't count Dark Resurrection, which I obviously do because I'm not a coward. This may be the first Tekken game to release that is focusing more on the console version than it is the arcade version, as the previous entries generally had their arcade ports released earlier than the console counterparts. Tekken is a type of fighting game known as a 3D fighter. This means that characters are able to move around their opponent by sidestepping or sidewalking. This allows for unique whiff punish opportunities, as you can dodge your opponent's attack by sidestepping at the correct time. With this higher emphasis on ground movement, air mobility is generally more limited. It's rare for characters to actually jump in Tekken, as there's not much reason to. You might cause some low attacks to whiff, however, you don't go that high and you don't exactly have a lot of options while airborne. In fact, you can get the same result by doing moves while still on the ground at a much lower risk, so it might be worth using them instead. With this emphasis on grounded movement, you would imagine that the ground movement is really good and really easy to use, right? Well, not really. Tekken's movement isn't exactly rigid, but it's very stiff when you first use it. Backdashing has a set amount of distance it goes, and you can't move again until the end of the animation. Unless you crouch, which cancels the backdash, allows you to move again. So if you want to get the fastest backdashes and create distance, you need to learn how to Korean backdash, which is a backdash that is cancelled with a down-back input that then goes into another backdash. And when you're starting out, it's not easy. In fact, after 2 days of playing the beta, I still can't get it consistently. Not to mention that the beta had basically 0 characters that I've actually played. The only characters that I've ever played are Elisa, Julia, and Miguel. And none of these characters are in the beta, so I'm left to figure out what to do on my own. Despite all the characters basically being the same they were since their debuts, I have no idea how to play any of them. Lily was probably the best shout, but I don't want to be known as the guy who picks the rich white woman in Tekken, so I decided to pick a Mishima. And what a better way to learn the Mishima archetype than by playing the one that's basically not a Mishima. Jin Kazama is a complicated character, but still very cool. He originally played like how the rest of the Mishimas played like. However, in Tekken 4, he unlearned the Mishima style and decided to take up traditional karate, making him one of the only characters to completely change his style between games. It's been 12 years since then, but I have no idea how this character plays, and for me, that's sick. I don't know exactly what it was about Tekken 8 that captivated me so much, but by forcing me to relearn something as simple as moving my character around the screen, forced me to really appreciate how much I was learning and improving. I never did any crazy 10-hit juggle combos into wall slump resets. In fact, I don't think I ever did a real combo until the final hours of the beta. But being able to do a Korean backdash and sometimes being able to get a single wave dash out is an absolutely elating feeling, even when I'm getting my ass kicked. Normally, I'm one of those people who look at the informational brick wall of fighting games and say with terror in my voice, there's so much to learn. But for the network test, my eyes were open. The opportunities, the ridiculous move lists, the unique stances. There's so much to learn! This is also helped by the fact that Tekken just makes everything look cool. You still have the slowdown effect from Tekken 7, which is very cool and always helps, but now the camera is even more dynamic, with it panning to different angles depending on the moves used, giving specific combos and setups a more cinematic feel. The sound design is as good as ever, with every hit sounding crushing and brutal. The music is also pretty good this time. Now, I'm somewhat of a fighting game music connoisseur, and by that I mean I like it a lot and listen to it a bunch. But I've been told that a lot of people got sick of Tekken 7's techno-inspired soundtrack, and would even tell me that the OST is bad. For those people, I say get fucked, because now it sounds like if Nier Automata took place in a rave. We must become as gods, Jin Kazama! I should probably talk about the graphics too. In fact, why would I? You have eyes. This shit's beautiful and well animated. I don't need to say anything else. Look at Kazuya's face. I rest my case. I will say a very nice surprise is that Tekken actually had honest-to-God dynamic intros for several characters, which is something that's been shockingly lacking in fighting games as of recently. They're all really cool, but not every character has a dynamic intro. Luckily for me, Jin had like 5. In fact, I didn't even get to see all of them, but they're all pretty sick. It does lead to a weird situation though, where he has a fully animated dynamic intro with his dad, but he only has a unique line when he's fighting his mom. Still though, I'm glad a modern fighting game is keeping the trend of dramatic intros alive, especially with how sick they are. But what makes Tekken 8 special then? Well, the main defining feature of Tekken 8 is the heat system, which leads to a lot of awkward sounding phrases when discussing the characters. Heat is a mode in which all characters can activate. Once activated, they gain access to unique properties. Heat lasts for 10 seconds, however, the timer stops going down while the opponent is being hit or they're laying down. While in heat, you're able to refill some of your grey health by connecting attacks as well as gaining additional properties on some moves. For example, when Jin activates heat, any wind hook fists that he does will automatically turn into an electric wind hook fist, without the need for a just frame input. If you don't know, normally when trying to get an electric wind hook fist, you need to press down forward and right attack, known as 2 in Tekken notation, at the exact same time. This gives it a unique sound like this, as well as giving the attack different properties, generally more frame advantage and better combo potential. Since you need to press down forward and 2 at the exact time, it can be pretty awkward to land when you're just starting out. In fact, it's really awkward for me. I can't land them at all. So allowing players to be able to get electrics can help with the learning process, even if it is a little bit cheap. There's more though. While in Heat, you gain access to Heat Smash and Heat Dash. Heat Smash is a massive combo ender, which deals a bunch of damage in exchange for ending your heat once it's used. Heat Dash allows you to dash cancel certain moves in exchange for ending your heat. The dash can be used for combos, but it also allows you to be able to gain a bunch of frame advantage, kind of working like a Roman cancel in Guilty Gear or a drive rush in Street Fighter 6. These two techniques can be used to extend your lead and get a bunch of damage on your opponent. But how do you get into Heat? Well, there's two ways. There's a Heat Burst and Heat Engages. Heat Burst is a move that all characters have. It is a massive slam that you're able to use that automatically puts you into Heat mode. It's plus on block, I think, so it allows you to begin your offense and start getting your grey health back. The other way is Heat Engager. Heat Engagers are specific moves your characters have that that will allow them to enter heat mode once they connect with an opponent. Every character has a bunch of different heat engages, so it's important to know which ones you have so you can follow them up with a bunch of damage and pressure. The heat system is pretty in-depth by Tekken standards. At face value, it looks like a combat mechanic, giving you your health back when connecting attacks with the opponent, even giving you more chip damage to work with. However, I think it falls into the same type of combat mechanic that something like Dragon Ball Spark falls into. Yeah, it can be used to make a comeback with the utility that it provides, and the ways that you gain health and stuff like that, but wouldn't it make more sense to just use it in a more get massive fucking damage on your opponent way? Like, you could theoretically wait until you're low, pop heat, get some health back, and keep going, or you could get a fat whiff punish, go into heat, and do a sick nasty combo for half of their health. Like, I'm just saying. Before we answer the question in the title though, it would be utterly foolish for me not to mention how the online worked. Now, I have a terrible secret to tell all of you. I played the entirety of the network test on Wi-Fi. I know. I shall be burned at the stake for my crimes. However, there was multiple reasons for this. The first is that I wanted to test the network on the worst possible conditions I could muster. I'm gonna be real with you. My Wi-Fi is fucking balling, but I am as far away from the router as humanly possible, meaning Wi-Fi reception in my room is spotty at best. So if the netcode could function properly under terrible circumstances, then it must be good netcode, right? The second is that when I plugged my new Elgato 4K 60S Mark II into my computer, it somehow broke the wireless internet adapter for my desktop. So if I wanted to stream my gameplay to Twitch, twitch.tv/scroll live, by the way, and still have a functioning computer, I needed to have one massive Ethernet cable I had plugged into it at all times. I only have one massive Ethernet cable. But yeah, no, it was definitely to test the netcode. So how was the netcode then? Well, considering that I was 2 floors above the router, it wasn't actually that bad. It was pretty stable. Now, granted, this is just my experience. I've heard that Wi-Fi connections can be especially bad under the right circumstances, and I didn't get as many matches as I would have liked to in order to test it out. Partially because I've been very busy lately, but also because a lot of people would see that I was on Wi-Fi and dodge me. And to those guys, I have only one thing to say to you. Good job, fellas. You passed the test. Keep up the good work. Speaking of playing the game online, oh my fucking god, they did it! They fixed it! I don't have to constantly get ready for the next battle! It's so much faster getting into battles and rematching! Not as fast as Street Fighter 6, but it's way better than it was in 7. Oh my god! I don't have to get ready for the next battle after every match! I'm free! But that still leaves one big question. Is Tekken 8 good for new players? Well, that's not an easy question to answer. The network test didn't provide any of the learning tools that the final game will hopefully have. They had a combo trial, but that was about it, with things like frame data not even being available for players to look at. Tekken is a hard game to break into. Most of the systems and characters haven't been changed between releases, and the biggest mix-up we had was in Tekken 4 back in 2001. So there's a lot to take in. However, it's pretty similar to learning any other fighting game in 2023. And thanks to most of the things in the game being legacy moves and movements still not changing that much, you can get pretty far working off of old information. Hell, I would even say that if you wanted to get ready for Tekken 8, playing Tekken 7 would prepare you, since the movement feels extremely similar, and characters have basically the same moves minus a few additions in the heat mechanics. However, as far as I can tell, Tekken isn't adding any new improvements to make the learning process of the game any easier for new players. There's nothing planned like World Tour mode to teach you how to do movement tech and special inputs, and there's no modern control settings that allow for simple inputs. There is an assist mode like there was in Tekken 7, however, unlike modern controls, I don't think that the one auto combo it gives you and access to your rage and heat moves on one button, both of which are just single direction and button combinations anyway, and can be bound to their own button, will give you a way to get to the thinking side of Tekken quickly enough. That doesn't mean I don't have hope though. Tekken has done single player modes in the past that could be redefined to help new players out. Maybe give us a Tekken Force mode, but, you know, teach us Korean backdashing at some point. Or teach us how to wave dash or something. You know, it could be fun. In the closed network test, Tekken 8 was no better for new players than Tekken 7 was. Though if they added a tutorial at all, it would immediately be better than Tekken 7, because Tekken 7 doesn't do shit for newbies. However, Tekken 8 presents an opportunity for newbies and 2D veterans alike. It presents a way for you to rediscover the joy of learning fighting games from the ground up. The possibility to see yourself grow and improve with every session and find new tactics that you thought were impossible before. With better UX and better netcode, Tekken 8 is posed to outshine 7 in every way for newbies and old heads alike. All they have to do now is make sure they don't fuck it up. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If everything works out, I should be streaming right now on Twitch. Make sure to subscribe for more funny content. Subscribe to the Patreon to get your name read out like these beautiful people right here. 64 megahertz, almost nap time. Ben from Canada, Cervantes de Leon, Daniel Wiedericht, Dragonprox, Games.png, I am Naoto, Jackal Reeves, MP04, Nhoa, Ray W, Super, Forcon, Tom Tanks, Voltaic Charge, and Zandatsu.